Hi, my name is Claudia Morales, and I am a student here at the University of Utah. I am studying biology, and today I will be making a video for all of those of you who are also in a similar situation as me. I will be discussing about biology discourse, in particular the academic discourse. So let's get started. What is biology? Biology is a natural science that studies life and living organisms, including their physical structure, chemical processes, molecular interactions, physiological mechanisms, development, and evolution. You may be familiar with some of these biologists. For example, Charles Darwin. He's best known to contribute to the science of evolution. Or Rachel Carson, who was a marine biologist who advanced biology with her contribution in global environmental movement, and Greg Mendel, who is known as a father of genetics. These biologists all share their discoveries with the community and the world through biology discourse. And today we'll specifically focus on the academic discourse. These biologists wrote down their research and compartmentalized them into sections. When reading a discourse or scholarly biology article, the article will have a section like an abstract, background, methods, results, and we will further look into that to help you familiarize yourself with it in just a little bit. So, let's look at this article. This article is called "The Relation of High School Biology Courses and Student Religious Beliefs to College Students' Knowledge of Evolution." Now, we're not going to specifically focus on the topic itself, what was being researched, but more of the sections that are covered and that are typical in other biology discourses. So, for example, we will usually see an abstract in the beginning, which is summarizing the article, keywords, and then more what we call background info, just kind of explaining and providing an introduction into the research. So, for example, here they start off with saying, although evolution is the foundation of modern biology, teaching evolution is often difficult. And then they make their approach into how they're going to test students in the methods section. Now we're going to start, this is one of the strategies we're going to focus on today. The methods section will provide us with the strategy of the use of evidence. This is referring to how the data was collected, what population was analyzed, and drawbacks that were addressed. So here in this article, we're seeing that they surveyed students in the University of Minnesota that were categorized under a specific percentile. And then here it's going more into the method section, saying how their surveys were made, and they're going to go into they talk about what they asked the students. And the questions, here they said that the questions, they were developed and tested over a period of several years. So they're kind of introducing that, so then the audience gets a better understanding of what was being tested. So this is the strategy of the using of evidence. And now we're going to move into the results. In this section, the strategy being used is strategy of diction. And it's commonly seen throughout the article. The diction is pretty coherent throughout the article, but however, when it arrives at this section, it can be a little confusing due to terminology used. There is a statistical approach, and we can see that in some of the terminology used in this article. For example, let's go down here. So here at the bottom, we're seeing P, right? We're seeing this in parentheses. P is less than 0.05, which can be confusing to readers if they're not very familiar with statistics. P is just referring to the probability of a more extreme result occurring if hypotheses were true. And so there's just some terminology in regards to statistics that can be a little confusing, which can be a problem when we're trying to interpret the results if we're not understanding what these terms mean. And so this is very typical of a biology discourse for it to include statistics, because that is how they evaluate and interpret the results. They put it in statistical terms. Here we have an example of a table. We see those PE, the standard deviations right here on the right side. And we see it here. And usually they will have 2 to 3 tables or graphs, some kind of visual to help the reader understand the results and put it more into perspective. And again, we see the P at the bottom. And they're using a logistic model here. And that'll depend on what the researchers decide. And for the last part, we're going to go into the discussion section, which here, sometimes it'll be named discussion, sometimes it won't. Here they just call it the impact of religion to come into a conclusion. And here they're going to use the persuasive strategy, which is to convince the audience to develop a similar perspective as the researchers have. The results are summarized to remind the audience of the purpose of the investigation, the methodology used, and what the results were. Some articles will even address limitations and how the study could be improved. This is to give the scientific community an understanding of what was successful and what wasn't. So then scientists can incorporate what has been learned from this experience. So for example, here we'll have their talk about at the beginning how the results indicate. Okay, these results indicate the more conservative the student's religious belief, the less likely they are to pass the KEE. And then they go on to compare it to other studies. On average, conservative religious belief are strongly associated with poor knowledge. And they're just kind of wrapping up the results and comparing them to be able to come to a conclusion. And we see that all throughout here. They're just kind of having a discussion. And they will even summarize it again. The absence of evolution of education, the presence of creationism in high school biology courses, and the holding of religious belief. They go on to say reduce the knowledge of incoming college students about evolution. And they just tie it back again. Hopefully this was helpful for you and will help you become familiarized with a biology discourse. Thank you.